Alrighty then. Like any good professional YouTuber, I'm totally late. I apologize for that. But the reason for this stream, this little get together, if you would, was about a discussion that a Mr. J, Drunk3PO, had with Mark, the Gospel, according with a C. I apologize, Mark. But they were talking about the situation over at Hasbro that apparently Project Veritas came out with some footage. They have an employee, perhaps a former employee, that is stating he's making claims. He's saying words. He's basically saying that, well, according to this training, they're saying children are racist. It's like, all right, well, I heard that kids might do some racist things. All I know is, at least in my experience, working at a place that at some points may have been considered a youth detention facility, I've heard kids say some racist things. Now, you can argue about the age and everything, but so I was basically going to get on and kind of riff on it a little bit. And I'm like, wait a second. Now, if somebody had an issue, maybe disagreed with me, rather than just do a response video, like people totally love to do, and you usually just play a video and you can basically riff on a person without them being there. But I figured, wait a second. What if I tried to be an adult? I realize I am a terrible adult. So I basically invited the entire Dark Council and some other different folks on. I was totally late with inviting some people. I would have liked to have done it earlier, but I think I got most of the links out before it started. I did say it was supposed to be 5:30. Now again, we'll get into this a little bit more, but all I know is you've been warned. Here's the intro.
Though I know I should be wary, still I venture someplace scary. Ghostly haunting, I turn loose. Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice!
Everyone, I'm probably freezing up there a little bit because I'm starting to share, and my computer was going a little bit slow because I totally need to delete more porn. These things happen. Now, let me actually do this. Let's see if this video plays.
So I'll let you guys hear this.
Okay.
And you guys can make up your own. There, we got it now. We got it. Let me know if you can hear
David
it.
Johnson. I'm a packaging engineer for Hasbro. They are attempting to covertly push CRT, critical race theory, through branding and messaging through their products.
Explain what we're looking at here.
This is the program developed by the Conscious Kid, which is working with Hasbro to teach children about racial bias at an early age.
Everyone's got some bias.
Babies are beginning.
All right, let's make sure this thing is still working. I'm not completely all locked up because it looks like I might be locked up. I don't know. Let me see. As long as you can hear me, you don't need to see me at all. Good God, who needs to look at this ugly mug? But I see you there, Rhea, along with Emmy-winning journalist Matt Rogers. Welcome. Hey. Now. We don't need to legalize dueling yet, but all I know is it's my go-to backstop. I think a lot of these things would be solved. I'm pretty sure the Culture Warrior would more or less be over in 6 months because it's like, all right, is this literally worth dying for? I'm just saying. I'm not a constitutional scholar, but yeah, no, you might actually find this interesting just because this is a bit of more of my take on basically CRT, which is critical race theory and stuff. Some folks view it as the new impending demon that's going to take over the entire culture and everything. And again, I am not a philosopher. I'm a velociraptor, thank you very much. But as far as other folks refer to it, it's racial sensitivity training. Now, why do I say this? It's like, I don't know. I've seen different things where it's like, yeah, people are totally going to treat different. So, I mean, if you acknowledge it, and my thing is, maybe you don't start off a conversation with saying, so y'all are racist. I'm just saying that tends to turn people off. You tend to catch more, bees, whatever you're trying to get with honey. I don't know. It goes very well in tea and hot chocolate. But all right, since we're back there, welcome, Zach. There's a Twitter article about me. Oh no, what have I done? These things happen. All right, we'll go back to it. What do we got here, Mark?
To notice and already express preference by race.
Oh, but before we go, here is one of my co-hosts, a Miss Mellons, has joined us. Welcome, Miss Mellons. How are you? She's still we drove her away. We drove her away. Obviously, she wasn't feeling our vibe. These things happen. These things happen. But as soon as she establishes a more secure connection, she should be right back with us. Back to the show, folks.
Age 3, children are already starting to apply stereotypes. They also may use racist language intentionally.
All right, thoughts on that?
I mean, first of all, are their senses even that far developed at 3 months? All right,
Hello, Miss Mellons. You appear to be here. You can speak. I'm not sure if I can hear. Oh, let me redo the thingy. You might need to change your audio inputs. Did I mute you? I don't want to unmute you without your consent. Hey, Matt, this is a working professional relationship. All I know is we may have met in Philly, we may be from the same Commonwealth. That doesn't mean anything. You can treat people with respect. I'm going to unmute your mic for just okay. Wait, there
Oh
you
yeah,
go.
sorry, I was having technical difficulties and I couldn't connect to StreamYard. My audio wasn't working. I'm not having a good time.
Welcome to the internet. Technology is wonderful as long as it works. So
exactly.
Since you're here, this was the original duo. I basically just informed the folks that rather than just go on the internet and just start ripping on people because we can, maybe we try to communicate behind the scenes, try to be adults and actually say, hey, I'm going to have a discussion. You're totally invited. If you can make it great, if not. But my big thing is, as I've been telling you yesterday, was my thing is I hear parts of the video and I hear the words that this gentleman is saying, but I don't hear the things that he's saying in the video. You can make those connections, and especially if it's been reinforced by where you're getting your news sources, the general memetics of like what you think about when you think of this thing, in this case, CRT, critical race theory. Do I necessarily agree with everything in there? Not I'm more of a fan of the theory of enchantment by Chloe Valdery. I think that is a much more stronger entrapping narrative for a lot more folks. Just my opinion there. But we'll start off the video. Hey, just give us your own thoughts. Give us your own thoughts, Miss Mellons. Here we go.
So I'll let you guys hear this, and you guys can make up your own. There, we got it now. We got it. Let me know if you can hear
David
it.
Johnson. I'm a packaging engineer for Hasbro. They are attempting to covertly push CRT, critical race theory, through branding and messaging through their products.
Explain what we're looking at here.
This is the program developed by the Conscious Kid, which is working with Hasbro to teach children about racial bias at an early age.
At 3 to 6 months, babies are beginning to notice and already express preference by race. By age 3, children are already starting to apply stereotypes. They also may use racist language intentionally.
All right, thoughts on that?
I mean, first of all, are their senses even that far developed at 3 months? All right, 3 to 6 months. Are their senses that developed where they can actually differentiate, between races that way?
So what? Thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. So it's not necessarily that these people are saying like racist, right? So as a child, when you grow up, you do start to realize that there are differences within your family, for instance, like, you know, when you go to when you go out and you see other people who are a little lighter skinned or darker skinned, you do start seeing that there is a difference. Now, as a child, you don't understand, which is why usually kids tend to say kind of uh not like like when they go up to a Caucasian child going up to a black child and saying, why do you look dirty? They don't understand. That's not them being racist. It's just them not understanding and trying to understand why you look different than them. That's literally it. So for them to just be like, well, you know, that it is true though. Kids do tend, especially nowadays with kids being a little bit more smarter, they're starting to understand, especially with like internet and television and everything. They start to see these things, so they do understand the difference. Well, they don't understand, but they do acknowledge that there's a difference in with what people look like. They do start to understand and see that. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Doesn't mean they're racist. It's just they do understand these things. They do see it. They do say that there's a difference. My friend looks different than my family. Why is that? That's it.
I think a lot of I think what we're arguing over a lot is because at least folks like I think within our generation, or at least my generation, I realize a little bit older, but as far as like when we grew up, we were always told it's like, don't acknowledge color. It's like, no, it's we're all human beings. And I totally resonates with me. And then I remember one night I was watching The Daily Show, and it was with Trevor Noah. And to be fair, I mean, I realize I'm totally biased. I prefer Jon Stewart, but Trevor Noah, he had, I forget what her name, or it was basically a conservative young lady. I think she was on YouTube at one point. And it's like, no, I don't see color. And then Mr. Noah responded, that must make traffic lights very difficult. But that particularly resonated with me. I'm like, okay, it is something that, at least if you are not colorblind, you do kind of notice. Now, are you going to act negatively because of that? No, that's not cool. Now you're with malice. You're acting maliciously. Whereas it's like, all right, no, somebody is different. And I would also even go back to maybe not so much in this extent, but Professor Peterson, because a lot of his research, one of the big things I took out of at least listening to the first half of his first book, Maps of Meaning, was there's something in our brains called the orienting reflex. And what that is when you're experiencing something novel, you almost go into like a fight or flight. It's like, what is this? It's like, can I eat it? Will it eat me? It's like, can I mate with this? And again, not for kids and stuff like that, but just like for kids, like, again, I'm not a psychologist, a doctor, or anything like that, but object permanency. It's like, all right, they're chasing after, it's like, oh, mommy disappears. Oh, where's daddy? It's like, they're gone. And it takes a while for that to set in. And you're just picking up on different things that are around you. You're in a highly developmental age there. And I think that's what they're trying to focus on right there. Oh, I see you there. Welcome, Mr. Nate. Welcome, Mr. Nate. But anything else on this? And we just continue on?
No, I actually am curious to see where this is going. There's really not much I could say as far as like the age thing. I'm like, yeah, when you're a kid, you do notice differences. You do notice it. It's not a bad thing to notice that difference. Kids are kids. It doesn't matter. That doesn't mean they've made up their mind that, oh God, you're different, so I have to hate you. No, they just notice it. They just notice the difference. That's what they were saying. When you're a child at that age, you do notice that there is differences when it comes to how people look. Okay.
Right. And we go in the video. It's my main issue, really. I think it's coming up here in about a minute or so. So let's continue.
You know, so they can actually show a preference towards one or the other. Like you said, they're going to love their mother. They're going to love, you know, their parents and things. And, you know, that's what babies tend to do. You know, a lot of them, they cling to, you know, their parents, and, you know, they have separation anxiety, and, you know, but the race issue or the racial aspect of it, I don't see how that's even possible at that young age.
I don't either.
It is possible.
Like, yeah. I don't get it. Like, that's if you have a baby and the mom is white, and then there's a white and a black a black woman and a white woman there, and the baby crawls to the white woman, is that how they're judging this?
This is where I start to, because I don't think that's what they're talking, and partially because, again, I hang out in some leftist areas and stuff as well, because yeah, no, I tend to be more of a left individual myself. But what I end up hearing from what I recall, again, I was doing a cursory study and I didn't feel like reading through the full 38-page study. I apologize for my laziness, but I do remember they were kind of doing similar things for like kids. I think they were 6 months or so, and they were showing them pictures of like other children and stuff. And just a lot of the times, again, usually I believe within these United States, for some reason, maybe it's just the media, this, that, what kids are being exposed to. There were kids that I think they tended to associate better things with lighter skin. And again, I think that's what they're trying to point out, that we end up being reinforced by the things that are around us. And if you have a society that happens to be a particular type of way, it's like maybe that might explain why folks are trying to.
Well, look at South Korea and Japan. Look at China. Look at how they depict African Americans in their entertainment media, right? And people will say, "Oh, they're racist, they're racist." They're getting that inspiration from us, from what they see from our movies, from our TV shows, from our music. This is how we are portraying these cultural people. So how do you expect other countries and children to understand? So that's why when they say, and don't get me wrong, I love Drunk3PO. This is nothing against him, but I'm gonna say that what they were saying is like, I don't think children know. Yes, they do. Yes, they 100% do. They literally see the movies and TV shows that we are putting out. They see the things that they listen to the music that we play on the radio, and we think they're not paying attention, but they are. So no, these men, I love you, Drunk, and I don't know this other lovely gentleman, but you're both wrong when you say I don't think that these kids know. Yes, they do. Like they're a lot smarter than you think they are. Just because they're children, you assume that they're dumb. They're not as dumb as we think. They're very observant of their surroundings. They're very observant. But where it is we as adults are supposed to educate them to make sure that they don't remain ignorant, to assume that this is real life and this is how people are. That's not how it works. That's why it's our job to make sure that they know better. But they pay attention.
Kids absorb so much that I think there's a lot that we don't often go into and maybe it's a generational thing, because I kind of have noticed certain folks like, well, we just don't talk about that and everything. It's like, I think this might explain social media and its draw to a number of different folks there. But that handsome gentleman there is the gospel, according to Mark with a C. But and they actually get into what you were kind of talking about a little bit later on. And
is that how they're saying, oh, the baby must be racist because it's crawling to the other person?
This really relies on people just not knowing or not having any type of practical experience with the world. You know, I've been in stores, you know, where little babies will wave at me, you know, regardless of race. You know, they'll smile at you, they'll hide because they're being shy and everything. You know, I have yet to see, you know, some baby just like, oh, protect me from the big black man. You know, it doesn't happen that way. You know what I mean? You know, unless, I don't know, some big black man actually did something to them. But, you know, that's very rare. You're not going to see that. You know?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
No.
You know who I screamed?
Do you know why you are? Do you know why you are, sir? It's not because you're black. It's because a baby doesn't freaking know you. And not only that, yes, if a baby is used to seeing their parents and their family and surrounded by a bunch of white people, seeing someone who looks different might freak out the child. It's not because it's just you're black. It's just you're different. It's not a racist thing. Babies don't understand. There is a difference. It doesn't mean that the baby is racist. It's literally just the baby doesn't understand. You're not their parent. You're not their family member. You're not somebody that they're surrounded with. So yes, having a black person pick up somebody else's child and the parent and the baby doesn't even know who this person is or why they look like that. Yeah, it's going to be a little scary for them because they don't understand. That's what is our responsibility to teach them as they grow. So they do understand that it's normal. That's the point.
And just a little bit of that first part. It's a good thing we've had about a year to acclimate to being completely normal with interacting around other humans.
Right. And that's what it is. It's like, you know, teaching children that there are people of different skin tone. It's not to me personally, it's not woke. I understand why people would take it as that, but it's like making sure that these children understand, because hate is taught, right? So why is it wrong that like a child understanding that people look different is a bad thing? Hello, back in like the Captain Planet decade and Gem from the holograms, every TV show like that back in the day had a diverse characters of different ethnicities in all those shows. You at least had one black person, you had at least one Asian person, you might have had an Indian person in there. It was to show that there were people that look different. And the kids weren't watching Captain Planet thinking of their skin color or anything like that, but it was still something that was included just so kids know that there were people that looked like them, so that it made it so that kids understood that it was normal to be different. That's it. Why is that an issue? Because again, we're talking about people. No offense to Drunk. I love Drunk3PO, but I understand that he's tired of wokeness in entertainment, and I understand that, and I support him completely with that. But there are certain instances where it's not always woke, and it's not always as bad as it seems. Something like this is understandable, and what they're saying, they're taking what is being said here and making it sound like they are saying that children are racist, and we need to make it so they're not racist. Like, no one is saying that. They're basically saying that at a certain age, children start understanding that people look different. That is true. There are statistics that have shown that. That is a fact. That is not a bad thing. They just want to make sure that these kids are growing up to not be ignorant as best as they can, because sometimes their parents are making them hate. So it's either, I mean, I understand, listen, y'all do what you want with your kids. If you teach your kids to hate, cool, and hopefully they grow up and don't hate. But at the same time, why is it bad that people want to have more inclusive stuff for the kids in entertainment so that these kids understand that people are just people? You know, I don't know, but I think that comment kind of triggered me a little bit, because he's like, "Oh, black man." It's like, nah, bro. You ever pick up somebody else's kid that's not yours? They've never seen you. They just met you, and you're picking them up, and you're a dark man. Like, no offense, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing, but yes, you're gonna look scary to that child because they're not used to seeing you. They don't know these things, so they're not used to seeing you, dude. I'm sorry. It's not because you're really just black. You look different than what they're used to seeing every day. You know. And you're a man, you're a big scary man, you're not their dad. They don't know what to think. So yeah, a big scary black man picking up a white baby that they've never seen or just meet for the first time is gonna scare a baby. Not just because you're a black dude. They just don't know who you are and you look different. They don't understand what's going on. Like, what the hell?
I have to correct you. He's a tall, handsome black man. Not that that matters.
He is a tall, handsome black man, which I would say, for me, I'm not afraid, Mr. Handsome Man. You can pick me up anytime you want.
Oh dear. But okay, we're gonna continue.
I didn't cry out as a child. Clowns. I didn't want no freaking clowns near me. I'm over that fear. I don't have a fear of clowns anymore, but I thought it was weird. Any person with a bunch of weird makeup on, squeaking a horn and running around with balloons in their hand, I didn't want them near me. I didn't want them to touch me. I didn't want to go near them. They wore funny shoes. Their clothes look funny. And I'm like, you're going to do something harmful to me. Back up, clown. Let's continue on. This is crazy.
At this age,
This is critical race theory in practice. It's a mainstream ideology now, and it's in a lot of our institutions. People that I've spoken to about these issues, and I'm trying to explain to them why teaching people to segregate based on race or by gender or by any other inherent characteristic is wrong. If you want your children to be looking at people based on their race, then you are opposing Dr. Martin Luther King's dream.
What?
It helps when I don't boomer the mic, but is it just me, and in that Project Veritas video, are they playing some slightly inspirational music in the background?
I wasn't paying attention to the music in the background, to be honest with you.
I my thing is, again, I tend to think it's because I've heard what that gentleman's saying. I've heard other people say that. And again, I think a lot of this comes down to where you're getting a lot of your information from. I tend to think, and again, I don't have any data to back this up, but that tends to be what I observe folks that consume a lot of Tucker Carlson from Fox News and Tim Pool saying. Because essentially that's the narrative I got taken away. All I know is when I stopped consuming like 3.5, 4 hours of Tim Pool content on a fairly regular and average basis, I became a lot less stressed.
I have no idea who that is. I've heard the name.
Clickbait news videos that basically are going to enrage you and kind of sets a lot of the precedent for a lot of anti-SJW-ish people. Basically, IJWs of the more libertarian conservative side on YouTube. At least my observation. I apologize if that's a mischaracterization. According to Mr. Poole, he's a milquetoast fence sitter.
I was told I have a Tim Pool hat, and I never knew who that was, so I'd have to Google Tim Pool just to understand the reference, and I was like, okay. But I never watched a single Tim Pool anything.
I mean, he did. I think he was one of the founding members of Vice News and everything. I offered my service to him for Subverse, and then the pandemic hit. I was totally all right with going around and like actually helping him like film stuff and everything. But I don't know how to skateboard, so I didn't have that on my resume. So, yeah, my thing is, again, if you're following a lot of that narrative, basically what's being pointed out in Retro Bros, basically, this is basically two of our friends, or at least mine, basically our friends Jay, Drunk3PO, and Mark, the Gospel According to a C, they're having a discussion about this Project Veritas video, which came out. And this gentleman, apparently he went to them with this information. Apparently he had some of the training material there that they're reviewing there. And my big thing is, I'm listening to this video and I heard that kids can do racist things. Okay, at nowhere, at least in this video, and again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's totally said here, in this video do they say young children are racist. But I hear this gentleman basically saying they're saying children are racist, which if you consume a lot of that particular narrative, it's like, that's a very easy connection to make. I just my observation, just my 2 cents there, my opinion.
Well, from what I've seen so far, I'm not seeing, them saying that the kids are like the first start of the video. That's what they say. We're like, oh, kids are racist. I'm like, no, they're not saying kids are racist, and kids aren't racist. They don't know, they don't understand. But yeah, there are going to be instances where, yes, a child could be perceived as being racist, but no, they're not. They just don't know. Like I said, you have a little kid going up to a black kid in the park and saying, "Hey, do you have dirt on you?" To somebody else, be like, "Oh my God, that's racist!" Like, no, they literally think it's dirt just because they don't understand. They were never uneducated on the difference of skin tone and pigments. They don't know. That's not them being racist.
Well, the thing is, kids also observe, and then some kids might also register that. Again, I'm not a psychologist, but they say something in particular to a certain person, they get a rise, they get a reaction. Maybe it's a negative reaction. Maybe they kind of find that funny because it's not like a kid has ever done anything to just push people's buttons before. My parents are saying.
Right. And like you said, kids absorb information. So if you do end up meeting a racist toddler, right, they're repeating what they've heard. They're not racist. They don't understand racism. They're just caught mimicking what they've heard or they've seen. So yeah, you're gonna have a child who they heard the N-word somewhere at home or on TV, and they go up to somebody and they say that word. They don't know what they're saying. They just know that they said something that they overheard. That doesn't make them racist. They're children. They're learning. You don't have racist children. You have just children who are learning and growing. They're not racist. You can't call a child a racist. They're learning.
I think a lot of times saying the differentiation between something that may be racist and calling someone a racist, I think those boundaries often, in order to maybe attempt to win a fight or something, folks might just say things or words come out and then somebody highlights, oh my God, can you believe what this person said, even though it might be autocorrect at some point. I'm just saying, I do need to push back a little bit earlier about things that other countries have learned from us. We have gone away from many of those stereotypes over a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And I do think, I'm like, okay, it's been a number of years. Maybe we should try to flush them. I'm just saying.
Well, I understand that, but here's the thing. I still see, even to this day, people talk about how Japan's racist and they used to do blackface. And I was like, yes, because of what we showed in our entertainment, which is why they assumed that that's how black people were in our country. And here's the thing, again, you're right, it has gotten better, but people still will cling to that narrative that, oh, well, Japan and Korea and China, they used to do this and that. Like, yes, but the reason why is they don't have a lot of black people of color in their countries. So that's just what it is. That's a fact. Like, you're not going to go to Africa unless you go to South Africa and see a bunch of, people, they have mostly Africans and South Africans who look like memes. So I mean, depending on what country you're from, you can't expect every country to properly represent people that they don't have a lot in their own country. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna say it. And I don't consider that racist. I just consider it ignorant because they don't know much and research about other cultures to that degree. Well, they do now, but back then they didn't. So that's just my counter argument. They're memes. I'm making faces.
My main South African guy is Conscious Caracal. He is a very moderate voice. And since he's a caracal, I assume he's a furry. So
he must be. I like furry. I'm done.
I know. Continue.
Yeah, I agree. And that just might be the point. It just might be the point that these people are trying to take us backwards. And that's how it feels. Everything's got to be age appropriate. And, you just have to keep guilting white people, and you have to keep victimizing black people. And nobody is good for that. That's as far away from Martin Luther King's dream as you could possibly get.
See, Mark has this. Remember, this is Hasbro, the toys. They made Star Wars toys. They made Transformers, G.I. Joe, right. Hasbro toys.
I think that's progress in the truest sense, that we should not be judging each other by the color of our skin, but rather by the content of our character and actions. If the next generation of children is allowed to be indoctrinated to believing that racial segregation is a good thing, I don't think it will lead our country to anywhere good. This isn't something I wanted to do. This is something I felt I had to do. This is a hill worth dying on. If I can make one person just step away from this ideology and say, you know what, maybe that's not the way, it's not the path towards a better future, then I think it's worth it. This isn't
all right, let's
if I unboomer it, but any thoughts on any of that?
I'm waiting for the part where this guy said that black
Gotcha.
kids are racist.
It seems like it's getting worse as the more I play.
Whereas infants living in more racially diverse environments did not show that same preference for their own racial group. And this is really important because we see that early exposure to different races is impacting these preferences before babies are even 1 year old.
Okay.
Children as young as 2 are already using race to reason about people's behaviors.
Wait. Children as old as 2 are using race to reason. Children as old as... I find that hard to believe.
No, 2 years, they call them the terrible twos for a reason. Anybody who's been a parent, 2 years old, all they're interested in is throwing temper tantrums because they're not getting what they want. They're not trying to look at anybody's race. You know what I mean? No.
That is
they're still learning how they're still learning how to poop in the toilet, man.
I agree with that.
Come on now.
I kind of agree with that.
It says
I do kind of agree with that point. That at 2 years old, I don't think that what they said in that video that they're watching, I think that's weird because I don't think that kids are really actually basing any decisions that they're making about people based on skin color to that degree. Like I said, looking different would be something I would say makes more sense of why a child would react differently. And on top of that, as children, they're used to whoever they are surrounded by the most. Mom and dad, siblings, family members. That's usually where they spend most of their time and the people they see around. So again, I think I will agree with that statement. I don't think that any decisions that a 2-year-old's making as of like that is based on race. Because here's the thing. During Pennsylvania, you weren't there, memes, but there was a baby there. And the father had the baby in the hand, and they were Caucasian, and the baby started crying, and I was standing next to the baby. Now I have lighter skin, but I'm also not too dark, but I had my black lipstick on. Now the baby reached over for anyone to take him because he's crying, and I grabbed the baby. I took the baby and held the baby. The baby was just fascinated with my lips, right? And this is like I think not a 2-year-old, but the baby was very fascinated with my lips. They were black, and the baby kept putting his fingers on my mouth because he's like, that's weird. I've never seen that before. Black, very black lips, and was playing with it and very intrigued, actually, very interested. So I'd say, It depends. At 2 years old, I would say it depends on the person and the situation that child is introduced to that person that would really make that baby feel some type of way. So I would disagree with that statement about 2 years old already knowing race and stuff. Because I'm like, nah, that I had a like legit baby just playing with my black lipstick because I didn't know what black lips and yeah, and then on top of that, the baby was crying and was looking for somebody to help him, and I was there, and baby didn't care what skin color I was. It's just like, that's a person who wants to take me from my daddy who bumped my head. Come, I don't want to be here anymore. And then he calmed down. He's just playing my lips. So I disagree with that video statement. Yeah, I agree with those men.
Well, I tend to think it's like, all right, what is the data that you are modeling this off of, and how are you defining reasoning and actions? Because if you grow up around folks and you're mostly around folks that kind of maybe have a little bit a certain type of way, then it's like, if something is, that's why I think they were saying, if you're exposed to more folks of all different backgrounds, ancestries and stuff on a fairly frequent and regular basis, it's like you might not have that. Maybe you wouldn't necessarily judge as much because this is something that you're accustomed to, you're used to. Whereas if you've only kind of grown up a certain type of way, you might not realize, and again, they didn't necessarily say it was a negative thing, but just how they might judge there. So I think you're going to have to look at the data there and see what's going on. Because I mean, if little kids have associations from 6 months and stuff, be like, all right, mommy, daddy, kind of, this is how I visualize them. Hopefully they don't disappear from the world until my object permanency sets in. So again, it depends on what your definition of is, I think.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents. So
yeah, I agree with you. You're very wise, man.
Oh, I know. I ruin everything.
We may see this play out in daycare on the playgrounds on how kids are starting to choose or exclude playmates as friend. Man, welcome to real life. When I was a teacher out of school, my best friend at school, and there's a video on my other channel of us playing miniature golf, was the PE coach. He wasn't white.
Nope, I knew
we hung out. We did everything together. That was my preference. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't hang out with the math.
See, I love Jay. I do, and this is why I'm going to say this with nothing but love. It's hard for me to have this talk with Jay because I know Jay doesn't give a crap about people's skin color at all, and I know he has nothing but love in his heart. So I can see why certain things like this he might take as like people making it about, because it's just I just love Jay, but sometimes I'm like, Jay, no.
He's not a hateful man. He's not a hateful man. I think he's trying to come at it from a good place.
Right.
And I think, at least from what he's taking in from a lot of folks around him, is that, oh my God, this is going to drive us apart. So you view it as driving it apart. Yes. So you end up having maybe not necessarily him and Mark so much, but you got a lot of other folks within different valences. It's like, oh my God, there's an issue. So you start pushing it. And then you start having teachers unions saying, no, this is important. We're sticking by this. So just the fight continues and continues. And we'll continue on.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, since Jay's a teacher, I know he has seen, at least I'm assuming he's, especially in Florida. Because see, here's the thing. I'm from Boston and I lived in Florida. And one thing that was very interesting to me was that, yes, we do have a fair amount of people of different ethnicities in my area. However, there are a lot more African-American people in Florida. And I lived in Gainesville. So I lived in a college town, but there was a lot of Black people. And I was like, whoa. Like, I have not seen this many Black people in a town. So it was like really different for me. And I can honestly say I saw some things, like I felt, even as a Black person, I felt like I was out of place. So I would say I know that there's like, I know he has seen it. I know he has probably seen it, especially as a teacher. I'm sure he's seen some of the things that these people are talking about on a bit older kids, you know. I'm sure he's seen it where, you know, he I just know he's seen it.
No. Yeah, and again, as somebody that grew up probably around the same age as Jay, it's like when you grow up in the don't see race, no, we're all the human race, and it's like when you just go in there and like we're not supposed to talk about it, and then you got a bunch of folks talking about it, you start feeling really uncomfortable. You're like, oh my god, this is an issue. So I mean, I can totally get where he's coming from. Let's mosey on.
Lady, I hate math. Number one. Number two, she
Math
was
is
like
hard.
70. Number three, we had nothing in common. Like I was cordial, but I wasn't calling her up to go to the movies. I called up my other friend. I don't get like that is. Am I wrong on that? That's just how it is. It's like I like the Miami Heat. That's my basketball team. I can't stand the New York Knicks. It's like.
But you know what? You're talking about yourself as an adult or a young adult. And the scary thing here is that, as you can see on the screen, they're talking about 2-year-olds. 2-year-olds. Now, if you're identifying a 2-year-old as a racist, the scary part is, what are they proposing to do about that?
That's where I'm like, I didn't hear say that children were racist.
Right. None of this video that they're watching had them say children are racist. They were basically just overall saying that children do acknowledge that the differences in race, which is kind of like yes and no. They do understand that there is a difference. Do they understand that it's a race thing? No. But do they understand that there's a difference of how people look? Yes. So I understood immediately what this guy in this video was trying to say and try to like spread awareness to, is that children do understand, and they 100% do understand that people look different. They just don't understand that it's a race thing. We understand it's a race thing, but they don't. That's the only difference. But yeah, I love you, Jay. but I'm gonna have to heavily disagree. But props to you too for having a black man on the show, because I'm not saying that sarcastically. That's why I'm here, because it's when it's dealing with race, and it's sad that it has to be like this. But if you had a white man, or anyone who wasn't African American, on to talk about African American issues or race issues in general, if you didn't have a person of color, then you're gonna get the backlash, and that's a sad thing that Jay can't be, himself and be honest and say how he loves everybody and all this stuff, and then he can't talk about race issues because he's a white man. So I'm with him on that. So props to him for finding a black man on the panel to be there.
Well. To be fair, that's kind of par of his crew, the Greater Dark Council crew, which I think the original title was "Apologies for My Racism," like 5 black guys and a drunk.
Yes.
Or at least somebody made a joke about that. Again, I apologize, but let's continue and see how much children are racists, according to some people.
Mm-hmm.
How does that even work? Imagine being a child, being brainwashed before you even get a chance at life that you're already a racist. How does that child function?
And in the dangerous part, for me, as I guess a black person, is that there's a lot of black people who will buy into this, and won't see the danger that comes to their kids from this. It's like, take your choice. Which one is worse?
No, dude. Okay. Again, I'm sure this guy is a very lovely gentleman, but here's the thing. Black people don't all speak for black people. You said some black people won't understand that this is dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because again, you have already started off by misunderstanding what this video was trying to say, and also not understanding that black people are also are teaching their children that white people are bad. I literally posted a video on Twitter of 2 little black girls harassing and abusing a white child that was younger and smaller than them while their brother was filming it, and then threatening somebody else, who I'm assuming was another kid who was trying to stop it, that he was going to beat up that kid. He's like, yeah, come watch me beat up this kid. Black parents are also teaching their children wrong too. So you can't sit there and say that some black people, that this is damaging, when some black parents are teaching their kids to hate white people. I have literally seen it, my dude. So no, I'm sorry, bro. That's not right. That's not true. Black parents are also teaching their kids to be racist against white people, teaching them that white people are suppressing black people and all this other stuff. So it goes both ways, my dude. So no, it's not about just black and white. It's literally about teaching children that there are differences in races all across the board. It's not just about black people. It's not just about white people. But you know why he's saying this? Because look who's talking about it. A black man. Look at the people that are in the video. There's a black man there. So he's now associating this with just a black and white thing. That's what I'm taking from this. So that's why I'm getting a little triggered, because it's like, bro, no, I can't stand it when black people do this and they can't even be self-aware of the racism that black people have also pushed out into the world as well. Because it does go both ways. It does go both ways.
I believe a wise woman once said, no race has a monopoly on racism, or ancestry. It's something along those lines. It happened to be a very, very wise black woman. I apologize for my racism. But yes, welcome, Keely. No, we're reviewing Mark and Jay discussion they had the other night. Again, I was going to kind of review part of the stream, and then Jay put out a video last night that was a clip of this. So I'm just like, well, it's kind of a pop culture channel, and now you're getting pretty political. I'm just saying it is a Project Veritas thing. It's totally related to Hasbro, so it is totally within the valence. I see you there, Thomas. Welcome. No, I just have Miss Mellons on, and we're just kind of reviewing. She's kind of giving her take as well on basically what's going on. We invited the Full Dark Council there. Welcome. I threw a bunch of links around to different people. If they care to join, the door is open. But
the back door.
We'll continue on. Hey, I figured, no, I learned from Thomas. It's like, all right, we could just, because remember, it's like you said, oh, I'd be down to do it. And I'm like, yeah, well, one, I totally got backed up because I'm a terrible human being and I'm always late. But the other part too is I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to talk about these people, why don't I at least reach out through different avenues? If I have the ability to send you a message on Twitter or Discord or Facebook, I'm like, all right, let me mention I'm going to be doing this. Here's the link if you care to join. But mimetic lattice theory it's very difficult. That's something else. We'll continue on with the video.
Either you're feeling guilty about being classified as a racist from 2 years old, or you're being raised as a victim, as somebody who feels like he doesn't have a shot or she has a shot in the world because she's being oppressed by something called white supremacy. So you put this anxiety on children, you put this level of fear in being defeated before you even get a chance to live. Why are so many, like, look at the suicide rates, with children across the board. What are we doing to them? You know what I mean? On both sides. The depression, since my my son has been in elementary school, he's just now going to middle school and everything. And I've been active, up there talking to the teachers and stuff, and they talk about this kind of thing all the time. Kids are in a bad place, man, emotionally, mentally, and a lot of it is because of this right here.
No,
because we keep poking around.
No, dude, no. Kids have a lot more crap that makes them depressed than stuff right here. Number one, it's not the stuff that makes them depressed. It's the fact that they are kids and they're finding their place in the world. They're discovering themselves. And sometimes they're bullied, not because of the color of their skin, but maybe because they just can't afford the new Jordan sneakers. So they're rocking some Walmart sneakers instead. Or, they don't have enough money to dress the same way. Kids' problems are nothing to do with this. Kids' problems is I don't have an iPhone. I don't have the hottest iPhone. I don't have the next PlayStation. I can't afford V-Bucks and Fortnite. These are normal kid problems, my dude. This is what these kids are stressing over. The bullying at school because they don't have money for things. That's usually the biggest thing. That's what most kids have always been bullied for. Is they didn't have the cool things. My nephew gets bullied at school. Not because, and mind you, my nephew is half Puerto Rican and half Irish. He looks more like his father, who is the Puerto Rican. Now, his issues is he's tiny. He's small for his age. He gets picked on. He gets bullied. He's had a lot of surgery when he was a baby because he's born very premature. So that kid's been through a lot. So he gets bullied because he's small. And the bigger kids like smaller targets. They can pick on the small kids. That has nothing to do with his race. It has to do with the fact that he's tiny. And he's a little socially awkward sometimes. But the more the point, it has nothing to do with his race, dude. So no, I'm sorry. I'm going to disagree with you. You can't assume that children's stress and problems are from things like this. Because guess what? They're not looking at this video. They're not watching these videos. They're part of studies. They don't even know they're part of studies. They don't even understand what's going on. So no, dude, you are wrong. Stop it. Stop it.
I gotta push back a little bit again, just because I'm that guy. But no, I reached out to a friend last year and kind of asked her about her experience growing up. And she happens to, she's Italian, but her genetic ancestry happens to be Colombian and stuff. So I mean, she did grow up, and I asked her, I'm like, her experiences, and she never wanted me to share her name, so I will respect that. But she went on and on about growing up in, again, more of a quote unquote whitewashed town and stuff, as basically a little brown girl. And there was some pretty horrific things. And I realized kids can be cruel. Kids can go after folks for all different reasons, whether, like you said, maybe they don't have the nicest stuff, the nicest clothes or shoes, the newest video game. But unfortunately, especially when kids are younger, it's just to go after somebody just because they look different from a mutable characteristic. I mean, just that's not cool. It does happen. I just think that's just something we need to acknowledge.
Well, no,
it does happen. It doesn't happen as much as before.
I'll acknowledge, I will acknowledge that I probably misspoke, but yes, you are right, because there are certain, and here's the thing, I say this, certain parts of the world, certain parts of the US especially, have, you will see racism for sure. So that's where I will say, because out here where I live, and you live out here, we don't see it that much. We don't see it that much out here. So in other places, like more the South, certain areas, sure, you're going to see it more. And yes, I will say your memes is right. In certain instances, kids growing up will experience legit racism. But I would say also that depends on where they are in the world too. Because out here, I haven't experienced much of that out here going to school. I don't know if you did, but like I said, there's certain parts even in Massachusetts where, some parts of Boston where it's, a lot of black kids pick on the white kids and vice versa. It depends on where you're from.
All depends on the observer, I guess. So
that too.
Let's mosey on.
And thinking we can somehow manipulate their development, and it's just growing them up, man, more and more.
But let's keep going on this terrible.
And we may see this play out in daycare or on the playground, and how kids are starting to choose or exclude playmates and friends.
By 2 years old, quote, already used.
Hold on. We have a guest. Let me rewind this browser. Don't mind anything coming out of my mouth. Oh, look. It's the Crystal Corpse Crusader himself. Hi, Steven.
Oh, am I late enough? Did I do the meme right?
You need to be about 6 minutes more late. But to be fair, I was late as well, so technically that's like 18. But what's going on, brother? How we doing?
Eating while listening. Sorry I took so long. Hi.
Oh, no worries. And again, I apologize, but one of the primary reasons I sent you a message is because Lorena doesn't follow me, so I couldn't send her a direct message. So I needed to invite the duo. You're a team. You're her producer. So I figured we're not going to restart the entire video. Miss Melons has been given kind of basically the lowdown is my big issue with this is during this discussion, I listened to the woman on the video and she's saying things. And then I heard that basically kids may do things that happen to be racist. It's okay. That's what I take away. And then I hear this gentleman who basically is the quote unquote whistleblower to Project Veritas saying that they're saying children are racist. And then I basically hear Jay and Mark saying that, oh my God, they're saying children are racist. I'm like, I didn't hear that in the video. Maybe it's there somewhere, but I don't think I've heard it yet. I'm just saying. So we're going to mosey on.
Using race to reason on people's behavior, and they exclude kids on playgrounds.
I don't think at 2 years old, most of them know how to read or write. I think it's absurd to just state as fact that at 2 years old, the children are going to be racist and using race to reason about who they're going to play with. And
and again, this is where it comes in here. Again, you're watching part of the video that was part of the training. Okay, then that comes to this gentleman has viewed this, and now this gentleman, it sounds like he's giving his opinion, and then that opinion is taken by the host of that show, and it seems to be kind of stated as he basically just said they stated it as a categorical fact. I'm like, I don't think she said the children are racists.
No.
I might have missed it. Continue.
But just as a
Oh, go.
generalization, children are not born hating this or that, except they're kind of like taste buds and everything, but they're still just they're growing. The thing whether it comes to racism or even targeted hate towards whether it's your skin color, your religion, or anything is not only the household you're raised in, the outside forces of society as you lose your childlike innocence. It doesn't have nothing to do on how you leave the womb. That, from my point of view, and this is also a based opinion, nobody is born racist. They are raised or they are influenced to have a certain bias towards whatever the factor is.
Right. Well, the thing though is that these are people who are saying that that children acknowledge that race, that they acknowledge the differences in races. And for the record, what I said earlier before you came in is like they kind of do, but they don't understand why that is. They'll just see somebody who looks different than what they're used to seeing, and they won't understand it. There's a big difference between children who, like I said, the whole video is basically explaining that like children do understand that there are differences of how people look, and they're trying to break that stigma so that they, when they grow up and then they start like seeing otherwise, like their parents will say something or they'll see something on TV, they'll have a better understanding that no, it's just it's normal for people to look different. That's basically what I've gotten out of this video. But unfortunately, our good buddy, and I love him to death, Jay, is saying kind of like that they're basically saying that children are racist, and that's what they're saying. It's like, no, that's not what they're saying.
It doesn't sound like that, but also I want to add to that. We've all had younger nieces, nephews. We've interacted with babies, whether it be our friends, families, right? And when they see something they've never seen before, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, or Japanese, it doesn't matter. But you know what they do? The first thing they do is they usually approach that if they don't feel intimidated, like even if it's a puppy, and start poking it and prodding to see what the limits are of the interaction is, as well as like if my nose was bigger than Memes' nose, they would poke at the nose, like their curiosity.
Or if you were wearing black lipstick.
Yes.
But you know what I mean, though. It's the comprehension of seeing something new, something fresh that's affected by the innocence and wonder, not by the fact that there's a CRT baseline or it's curiosity based.
Right.
That's my opinion. It's curiosity based. It's not racism based. It's not systemic based. This is a social construct of bullshit.
Right. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
With this video, like I understand where Jay and this gentleman he's with is getting at. I do understand it, but they're wrong because it's not wrong to want to try to get children early to understand that people just look different, and that races are the reason why people look different, and try to kind of get them prepared for when they get older and then now have to learn why people are culturally different and things like that, and then they have to understand, then they learn what racism is, because that's what's going to happen is they're going to grow, understand people look different, not a problem. Then they're going to get older and realize, wait, people hate people for looking different, but why is that? And then they're going to learn why people hate people, and they're going to be taught wrong. Like you're going to have a kid who has a family who is racist and will say, like I said, give it a perfect example. I got a little triggered because how he was one of the guy here was saying how some black people don't understand that this hurts. I'm like, some black people are teaching their kids to hate white people or to be afraid of white people or to act or to be afraid of being themselves around white people. So you already have that being taught to children who already know that there's a difference between black and white. Well, why do we have to feel some type of way about these white people? Well, parents are going to tell you.
Right there, you're kind of nailing it. The thing is, the teaching about racism is one thing, but we're not. The racism is a huge category. What we're missing the principle of is, maybe I'm saying this wrong, is that we should start teaching that the people are hating them because of the difference in the individuality rather than the race as a whole.
Right. And that's what the guy said in the video that they're watching. He literally said that. He said, we want people to, we want these kids to grow up and judge people based on their character and not their skin color. That's exact. Well, based on their character, like their who they are, right?
How they carry themselves, how
they
act, their actions more than their words.
Exactly. And that's what the guy in the video was saying, is that we want to teach, people and kids to judge, base their judgment on people of who they are and not what they look like. And why that message was perfect. Like that's exactly what people should always do.
But what bothers me is who asked her, when did Hasbro, if they were going down this road, thinks they have the right to teach another person's family when they're just making toys and games? Why are they jumping this line? They shouldn't even be in this category trying to teach another family's kids how to do this, how to think, how to do anything. This is where the other problem is. You're a corporation. You're making toys for kids and young adults. That's it. You're not supposed to have the message. You can have the message of good and evil if it's, let's say, He-Man and versus Skeletor, but teaching the baselines that why He-Man hates Skeletor is because he's just a yellow skull has no pretense in a child's innocence of growth. It happens over time as they learn through experience.
I think it's the evil wizard aspect that is
But
frowned
you know what I mean. The
Right.
normal trope of good versus evil.
But-
It's not the white versus black or this.
But Fat Steven, we literally have other people teaching our kids. It's called the
Yeah, we
school
do.
system.
Oh, I
And
know.
then I'm not saying that like to be dick, but that's what it is. Like we already have other people teaching kids. And how many times have we had and I know you've seen it, and I know Drunk has seen it. He was a teacher. How many times have parents been upset about the things that they teach in school? Like there are normal things that kids are being taught at school that some parent will be like, I don't want my kid to learn that. So it's like
Canada. Suggy, you're right. It's like when they were trying to push a new form of sex ed. And a lot of people were uncomfortable with it or didn't like it, or how they were pushing things by hiding it into that sex ed that was not necessary. No one had a problem with the program, but instead of bringing it up to date, they were trying to insert things over the whole program being brought up to date, and that's where the parents are having a problem. It's underlying agendas in these things.
Well, unfortunately, I tend to try to be very. I'm like, all right, let me maximize charitability here, because I think too often it's very easy to be uncharitable, especially if we catch somebody in a moment where everyone's kind of going after them. It's or if I'm going to assume maximum charitability, it's like they realize people would talk about it, so they try to get around it rather than having to issue a new permission slip. Because back in the day, it's like, all right, you're going to do sex ed. It's like, here's a piece of paper. You bring it home. Your parents give you, or guardian give you consent to do this. It's like, all right, we're going to go into a particular topic. This might be controversial. Yeah. We require parent or guardian consent.
Well, the perfect relation to that is literally King of the Hill. Remember when Peggy was chosen to teach the sex ed curriculum, and the only person that had the form signed after all the hoo-ha and mess-ups was Bobby. Bobby was the only one there.
I remember that episode.
Yeah.
That was powerful.
But it was also truthful. They made a whole big, rampage mess about this, and this, and this. And then when you finally show up, the only one who's still there is the actual mom who is also the teacher.
Yeah.
That I actually never fully made that connection, but I think actually that may have been a near perfect example, because people are always going to disagree. But
right, and I don't mind when companies, right? I don't mind. Like, it doesn't bother me too much when some companies like Hasbro, you know, Hasbro's been out for a long time. They do more than just toys. They have TV shows and programs and stuff that they do. So I don't mind, and I understand why Hasbro would do something like this, because it's gotten to the point where like they want to do something good, and they want to make a change, and they want to be part of that change, because the world is changing. So I don't really necessarily say that they have no business teaching, because I mean Hasbro they have teachable toys. They have toys that teach kids things.
That's it, though, Segi. Right there, you're right. But at the same time, those teachable toys go through a certain qualification test, the same way teachers in the education system goes through. Well, they really need to be updated quite a lot, but they go through the same kind of scrutiny. The end of the day is, I agree with you. I think we can all agree with this thing, but the problem is that if you're a corporation, you're making educational toys to help teach. You're not trying to make educational toys to teach a message. And that is a message that can be warped and misconstrued depending on who's hearing it, who is learning it, and who is delivering it.
Well, my big thing is, sorry to cut you off, Ms. Bones, but I'm just kind of like, all right, they're having employees kind of go through this, and it's like, what actual effect would it have on their lines? I mean, the base that I kind of get down to is on occasions, they'll probably come out with maybe an additional toy for maybe like more underrepresented folks to be represented. I'm like, is that the actual real world thing? A toy that will come out that people will rage on because they come out with a toy that's different there. It's going to breed more conflict. Can we get back to the video? I apologize.
Oh, yes.
Good. This is great conversation. But who makes Barbie?
I think Mattel.
Mattel, yeah. Mattel makes
Don't tell me why I might know that.
And discriminating based on
the moment you watch this, what was going through your head?
My jaw hit the floor. I've seen this ideology a lot over like the past 7 years. To have it so in my face at my place of work was just astounding to me.
3 to 6 months old.
3 to 6 months, and it's state by age 3 or by age 6 is when children start to express overt racial biases against people of color.
By age 3, children are already starting to apply stereotypes, and research shows that they also may use racist language intentionally at this age. And white children at this age may report explicit or overt negative attitudes towards people of color. Preference for their own race.
But that's taught. That's taught.
Yeah, that's family.
That's
based.
taught. That's
not,
family based.
That's like me going, hey, I love freezies, but every time I finish my freezie, everyone says, hey, white people suck.
Yeah,
what
that's
the hell kind of freezie is that?
Yeah, that's family based. That's a family thing. If you have kids saying racial slurs, that's not because they're like that's taught.
Let's go from the Apex and let's say Fortnite mentality for a second. We've all been placed in or any type of multiplayer lobby where we've been placed into a game mode where we're set with randoms. And we're hearing kids that are branching anywhere, let's say from 6 to 12, that are not only saying maybe these racial words or indiscriminate words or discriminatory words, but they even don't even know what the words mean because they just heard it from somewhere else. And that's the whole thing, that some of them, even what they're incorporating this as their studies saying these kids are saying these words, have they even asked the kids if they know what the words mean, or are they just saying it because they heard it from somewhere else?
I remember when I was in the telephone. Well, that might be kind of accurate, but I remember in the 5th grade somebody asked me, it's like, oh, would you like I apologize for my profanity, hooker? I'm like, or do you know what a hooker is? I'm like, and I was in a Beavis and Butthead face. I'm like, criminal? And it's like, I mean, you could say that. I didn't know what the word meant. We didn't have the Googles and everything back then, so you could just look it up. It kind of acts as a teacher to many people and everything. And this is the thing. This is also a bit of a generational separation, because back in the day, you'd be told something isn't necessarily true. Okay, a porcupine throws its quills. Porcupine doesn't actually throw its quills, but in actuality, it's like, it's a good mimetic to keep because you don't want to get too close, so you might get a quill, or treat every firearm as if it's loaded. That's pretty dang good advice. Not every firearm is loaded, but you should treat it that way. You don't point it
because it's still a weapon. It can cause death. It's the same way where
realize that
the
getting that foot close to the porcupine or jokingly pointing the barrel at one of your friends. It's like, what's okay? How funny is it going to be? But what happens if things aren't funny? Very bad. And that's what I'm kind of saying there. And again, I feel like this gentleman has probably been exposed to this. And again, I'm assuming things. I do not know his political background. He sounds like maybe he's a bit more of a conservative gentleman. So I'm just thinking, like, if you're hitting on that particular resonation, he said, well, this is a hill worth dying on. It's like, all right, well, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of, again, I don't want to infer.
I can't tell the skin color of the woman who just said 3-year-old white kids are like saying racial shit. What's her skin color, and how did like that? I'm just asking as a generalization, because I see we have a colored individual on the left. Who's on the right? Because we also get these types of people that are speaking on behalf of races as a whole, saying that this is every person. I'm like, you're using white as a plural.
I think like, very often, and just to kind of refocus a little bit, there's also the aspect of perhaps disability and maybe even quote unquote, somebody say mental illness at times. All I know is I did work at a facility that within their classification, it was a youth detention facility. It's like we had kids on all different levels of the spectrum and everything. We had YDC overflow and stuff. Like there were people there for a multitude of different reasons. A lot of times, poverty did kind of seem to be a major factor as well. Yeah.
I knew a lot more kids that got teased for being poor than they did for how they looked. But I'm talking about like their human body wise. They got teased for their clothes, what they weren't wearing, what they were wearing, and what they were eating for lunch. That was the main thing, especially if they were teasing them about being poor. The same thing is like we also had an incident, I guess a few months ago, maybe even half a year ago, where we had a Twitch streamer who had Tourette's. Everyone knows they had Tourette's, but as soon as they started saying words that were outside of the safe bubble for most viewers, they tried to get them canceled.
I remember
not understanding what Tourette's was. Yeah.
Well,
so
you're
many
looking for a
factors in
reason.
each
Well,
thing.
well, here's the thing. If you can do something on the internet and make an actual change in the world, it makes you feel like you have power. But let's
If it
continue on with the
offends
video.
you and it's not hurting anyone, you know what you do? You turn away and you ignore it. That's what we were raised. If it's not actually physically hurting you, you're making a mole out of a mound. You know what I mean? I forget the whole saying, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
it's
out
not-
of a molehill. No, I get the mimetic. And the thing is, don't get me wrong, there can be certain situations, but I think very often we're looking for something we could turn to outrage because, well, we get
It's
more
easier.
clicks. I mean, we totally get more views if I said memes destroys Drunk3PO and Mark with a C. It's like, well, that's not, number one, that's not what I'm looking at knowing, but even
No.
just that title with like a fancy thumbnail, more people would probably click. And if we said mean words, I'm pretty sure we'd have more than 3 viewers. I'm just saying.
You just need the blue eyes white dragon coming in, breathing fire on drunk.
Oh,
head
no.
and going, the Jericho is gone. The gloves are out. We're going video.
I totally did a clickbait Drunk3PO video, and it got so many people, and they're like, "Oh, shoot, Sag is going at Drunk3PO," and I was like, "Yeah, nah."
But right there, Staggy, right then and there, you just outed all of the people who fuel fires and live off drama and are what cause more issues that need to be done when you're having a discussion like this is right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
To be
You
fair,
just
no,
outed the whole group of fuel
No,
fires.
that's exactly what it is. It's
To-
exactly what it is.
To be fair, at least during about the full 2-hour discussion, I don't believe is highlighted in this video, Jay did said, we're doing it too. Or we're contributing, something along those lines. I don't want to misquote him. But
The hate stuff.
No, misquote him. It's funnier. It's funnier when you misquote Jay. You misquote Jay all the time. We all should.
No. I try. If I'm gonna put it like when I in my I apologize video, I did say that on that video in quotations. I can put that. If it's along those lines, you do the single apostrophe. At least that's what I was taught in school. We're gonna go on because at some point I can't go on forever. I'm sorry.
Racial groups at this age.
To just state categorically that at 5 years old, your children are as racist as the adults, which is implying that the parents are also racist in some manner. I just think it's absurd how they don't see it as discriminatory to group an entire race of people, like how they explain that the white children in particular have the particular bias against black people. And it's like children develop things based on what they're taught. And if they're going to be teaching this to children, then yes, you're going to have more children with a racial mindset because you're teaching children to have a racial mindset.
Through Hasbro.
Yeah, they want to use Hasbro to push more of this ideology.
What is their end goal?
I don't think Hasbro has an end goal with this. However, I think the end goal for the conscious kid is to make sure that Hasbro is going to use their lens and Hasbro is going to push their principles through all levels of their product, marketing, packaging, what have you.
We also see a lot of invisibility in products and media, and especially in children's products and media when it comes to communities of color. This also has an impact in communicating whose lives and stories are worthy of being represented and celebrated. Regarding product content and anti-Blackness, a large portion of media or products are centered around or perpetuates anti-Blackness. And research shows that negative or deficient depictions of Blackness in media and products perpetuates this anti-Blackness as well as aversive racial attitudes toward Black people. And beyond attitudes, this can have an actual impact on interactions with Black people.
Anti-Blackness?
And for both kids and adults, stereotypes in the product and content can reinforce dangerous hostility and resentment towards marginalized community and also exacerbate a lack of empathy, which is known as the racial empathy gap.
Racial empathy gap? Rep?
I'm losing brain cells.
This is just word salad with gaslight words. I'm sorry, when was the last time you opened a box of Cheerios? It goes, you're not Black enough. Fuck off.
I think what they're saying is they did studies were conducted. There was data. And basically, a lot of what I'm hearing, and often some very fancy words, are people notice there are differences, and depending on the situation and your surrounding. I think the gist of what they were saying about quote unquote white folks or stuff, or Caucasian people, and everything is if you do live in a society that happens to kind of look in general for certain ways, a certain type and way, a little bit, you might see that represented in many things like the media and stuff.
Yeah.
And if folks don't necessarily, if that's the majority of what you're seeing, and maybe you happen to look a little bit of a different type of way, that other folks, it's going to be identifying, it's like, that is different. Now, again, that's not necessarily going to go to bad. Some folks might be, oh my God, that's unique or something like that. And that totally does happen. But again, if it does come to those occasions where this is the case, and it still does exist, and we still do see it. And again, it can be in a lot of different forms. I watched I think a Canadian video about rent, and just the same thing, same qualifications, everything. And the folks that happened to have more melanin, they were getting charged more for the apartment. I'm just saying it does happen.
Yeah,
and saying that basically it never happens is, I think this is where nuance comes in. It's like, all right, there's only so much. This does happen, but the words we use are, if you replace most with many and always with sometime, I'm just saying the landscape changes. It's not as dramatic, but
I agree. Like, there is factors that do happen. There are things that do happen. There are those circumstances. You are 110% right. But the problem is, we're getting these types of people that are delivering these types of statements, these types of, I'm sorry, using air quotes that no one can see, air quotes, research and studies, because anyone can say we did studies, and they asked 3 people, and they're saying that it's they delivered in such a way that it's factual. It feels biased when she talks about it. It's not like stating it like it was a study actually done. Maybe that's just my perception. There are realities to racism and discrimination based on, well, if it's melatonin or your skin color. But the way the studies are being brought up, where's the paperwork?
I was looking. I did find one of the studies, but it was 38 pages. I didn't go through the whole thing. I apologize.
No, thank you. I don't want to read that much right now.
Well, that's the thing. If you have a quick little meme, and this was something even Jay said on the stream before they wrapped up, he's like, some of my kids are just like, we were debunking memes in my class, which actually is totally appropriate for this video. Love you, Jay and Mark. But I'm just listening to this. It's like, and he's like, dude, so many of these kids, if it was a really good meme, they would think it was true. And I'd show them it wasn't true, but they would still think it's true. And I hear somebody like Jay, who teaches our children, saying this, Jay, a teacher of history, saying this. I'm like, all I know is, with everything going on right here,
are we memeing ourselves into oblivion?
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Memes are the only place where you're safe enough to have comedy. Look at stand-up. It's most gone. That's like where the refuge of comedy is, in a meme now. The ones that don't get it don't have a sense of humor.
Well, you just don't get the reference. But
that too.
Ms. Mellon, did you have something to comment? It's all right. It's all right. We'll go back to the video. Thank you for being here.
I had nothing to comment. I had to go get food real quick.
No. I hear you. We're gonna play the video and continue on.
Because of the products? Because of the toys? Toys are pushing anti-blackness?
I need to see some examples of that. I mean, where's her examples? You know, she's just talking.
That's crazy. That is a crazy statement. If I buy a Transformer, you know what? That is, I can't believe that. Like that, I can't believe that they're teaching that.
I'm stumped. You know, I always challenge myself to try to see things from other people's point of view, to try to come up with an argument for what she's saying. I honestly cannot think of anything that lends any type of credibility to what she's saying. I honestly cannot. And I'm trying. Believe me, I'm trying. You know, because I know there's somebody out there now who's agreeing with it. You know, who's cheering them on, but it's like, based upon what? Like, show us some examples of what you're talking about.
Bro, I've never bought toys.
I can.
That made me like look down at.
I feel bad. Who would be interested in starting a racist Rubik's Cube?
No.
I don't get it. Let me grab these real quick and I'll let you talk. The Metcave says, my 3-year-old girl ran over to a boy and they started.
I can make an argument.
I apologize. I had to go run and grab water. I assume you guys found something to talk about.
Is the racist Rubik's Cube funny?
I don't know.
So, again, this goes back to history. Granted, these things aren't happening now, but again, toys. Look at Barbies. Look at Barbies. Even the black kids bought the white Barbies.
Sure. Remember what Mattel did? I actually have that for you, Saggy. I was on the ball like 10 minutes ago.
Damn, you're on top of it.
Yeah, share that memes if you could.
Oh, that's what the.
Saggy
What
and
is
I are
this?
on the wavelength. Remember this last year?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. I remember
maybe.
These
that.
are the new diverse Barbies. You know, it's like one has no leg, one's in a wheelchair. Then we got a whole bunch of other. Yeah, these are real.
Yeah, they're trying to make it for everybody.
So what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
So,
but this is a good way to deliver toys. They're showing individuality and differences between all people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So how do you do that with a transformer? Welcome to Blacktron versus Whitetron. Next, White Generation.
I think Transformers is a little extreme of an example, like the Rubik's Cube.
Oh, now, Robophiles are people too.
Yeah. And there's another one. You can keep that there. There was yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Hasbro does toys for what? What are Hasbro's toys that actually show people? Like superhero toys and things that already exist, right?
Right.
They're not making Barbies is its own property. Mattel has Barbies. It was created to be its own thing. So
now, I have a hypothesis here. Now, again, this is based upon mimetic relativity. Had you never heard about this, would you care?
No.
Okay. Now, how many other people do you think, if they never heard about this, would they care?
No, nobody would care.
now, let me phrase in a world where all of a sudden somebody puts this up and be like, oh, look how silly, and insert some mean critical words and take the piss out of it for approximately 10 minutes, because that seems to be algorithmically productive. But if you do that and you keep on connecting it being like, dude, look how woke this is. Oh, it's silly. I apologize for my little laugh there. It was very ableist. But, well, this is the thing. It's like, all right, well, if you tell people this is bad, might that explain why on Miss Mayhem's channel the other night you had a Mr. Danny over there with his Greater Geekdom channel and everything? Also, he starts raging out on frickin' 16-bit mascot because he sends a $5 super chat. It's like, I could never respect anyone that like worked for something along the lines of maybe a trash company or something like Disney. And Danny went off on him, man. To be fair, 16-bit mascot, he did not deserve that much ire from like a 500,000 YouTuber channel. Again, my opinion. But what kind of triggered him is I'm like, all right, how did we get to this point? Rather than hating on the player, let's hate on the game. What's the game? It's like, oh, if you're within the valence shell of the internet of Disney is bad, freaking Disney lady bad, things won't be good. It's like, really? Do you think by vanquishing these dragons here, it's all of a sudden going to make everything good? All I know is Marvel can fix Star Wars. Why? Because they have time travel.
Wait. But memes, you're right there. That's the whole thing. That like I'm going to come up from when Lorena talks about Disney on her channel when we're doing Welcome to Florida. When we make it specific, when we're talking about our dislike for them, we're not talking about the employees, the people that the everyday Joe, the people that work there. We're talking about the corporation, the corporate heads, the ones who pass these. So I was trying to pass these decisions. That is where the directed anger should be. Those are the ones who are literally changing things for the things we're being outraged for. If you're just an employee trying to survive the day, maybe some people will take it personally if they feel it's like an attack. But that's where you have to either distinguish whether they're talking about the corp or the business and the people employed in the whole. And that's where I think some people can misunderstand, because communication, especially through the screen generation, without facial expression and seeing eye to eye on, like literally eye to eye on how you're having a conversation.
I apologize.
It's okay. It diminishes the effect of understanding the other individual.
I mean, yes. By the way, I like these dolls because it's not about just like race, but you also got some doctors, a woman astronaut, black woman astronaut. Who cares? I don't care. No, I don't care.
All I'm saying is universal truth number 10. Things tend to come full circle. And all I remember is about 5 years ago when I started listening to kind of this side of the internet of stuff and things, it kind of started out, it's like, oh my God, can you believe all of these bedroom feminists? They're talking about gender and what feminism and stuff and things make to them. Oh my God, it's so terrible. Highlight a couple of results and everything. And now it's like 5 years later, and you got a bunch of more of the libertarian and conservative types saying, oh my God, can you believe the stuff and things about race and gender? And I'm like, who's spending most of their time talking about it now, too? I'm just saying.
We have a serious question though. Is anyone else wondering if wheelchair Barbie if you back her up, she will just go forward like they did in those old cars? You know, come on,
you're stupid. You're stupid.
Okay, no, you're distracting me. We're having too much fun. This will be the first of many conversations. Oh my God. Okay, we need to finish this video because we are totally destroying. No, we're not destroying anything. We're actually giving a critique. Why? Because that's what adults are supposed to do.
Playing. His dad and I talk sports and Star Wars. White and black families together having fun. Never met, and race was never a topic. That's how simple it should always be. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Thank you for the $20, man. I really appreciate the super chat. But it
Jay
is that simple. That's the crazy thing. It is.
But Jay just said that's not how the real world works.
That's the perfect screenshot ever. Mark's looking down like, what's going on down there? And Jay's like,
Right. But my thing is like, that's Jay also said in the video when he's talking about like, that's not how real world works. And it's like, yeah, that's right though. That's not how real world works. Yes, the world should be simple. The world should be understanding and inclusive and not focus on difference of culture, race, religion, whatever. But reality is that's not what people do. There are still people who focus on that. It is a reality. It's a sad reality, but it is our reality.
Now, Stephen, talking about your amalgamized telephone as I cut you off right there because I'm totally a fascist pacifist. But all I remember is, at least according in my head to, I think what I said about mimetic gauge theory, I'm like, take this context. You have this behind the scene within a private or publicly traded company for their employees, racial sensitivities training, critical race theory, whatever you want to call it. And this is presented. You have this gentleman saying, this is permeating throughout our society. So now you're also getting his opinion on this thing that's supposed to be happening behind. And now it's being put out there on social media. And these two are watching an edited Project Veritas video, mixing in some of this training, this gentleman's opinion, and along with some slightly inspirational music.
Yeah, we're not getting the original content, so we don't even know if the actual message is.
And we're getting the reaction of two other gentlemen. It's going through multiple mimetic eigen states. It's the game of telephone.
Every time you say mimetic, I want to take a drink.
Sorry, don't do that. We do not promote liver abuse here on the Memes of Destruction channel.
I can't. I'm still having a sip.
Listen, guys, I just want to say this, okay? And I talked about this on a video before.
This is an
I'm going to talk fast because I tend to break down with this story. But I had a friend who passed away from breast cancer, that I used to work with. Only 33 years old. One of the best friends I ever had in my entire life. Miss her every day. And I remember at the time, I didn't know what to do. I was so heartbroken. I was lost. And my coworkers, who I will say are white, just because we have to have this conversation and everything, but they are my friends, all right? But they came to me and they said, something, Mark, we can put together a fundraiser for her children. She died. Her children are here. The last thing she said to me was, I've made peace with what's happening to me. I'm not gonna last much longer. But what breaks my heart is not knowing that my kids are gonna be okay. So she passed away the very next morning. The last thing she ever said to me was, thank you for being my friend. All right. And I couldn't even finish working when I heard that she passed away. Now my friends came to me and they said, you know what, we can put together a fundraiser, for her and everything. And I never saw anything like it in my entire life. Like I said, I have to say that they're white just because of what we're talking about here, but these are my friends. And they came out They came out with their spouses. They came out with their children. They set up chairs. They came up with things to raffle. You know, I didn't know what to do. I never did a fundraiser before in my life. You know what I mean? So I learned something that day. You know, but the outpouring of love and the outpouring of support goes beyond race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about.
Good
My life
nature.
will never be the same because of that, because of what I saw that day. You know, if I ever had anything in me to make me believe that decency went along racial lines, it died that day because they took care of her children. You know, to this day, her children are okay because of what they did. And that's the only thing that she wanted. That was her dying wish. And those people, a lot of them didn't even know her. You know what I mean? But they came out for her. And this is what I'm talking about. Yes, we do have racial issues in the world and everything, but that's the lowest common denominator. It's like you don't build toys, you don't build agendas and everything based upon the capacity of hatred in people, without seeing the capacity of good and love that people have for one another as well. Like I said, they take advantage of people's lack of experience when it comes to humanity and things like that. But if you've ever been out into the world and you've seen the best that humanity has to offer, that's what you hold on to. That's what you build upon. You know, you don't build upon hatred and just assume that's where you're going to start, you know, because that all that's going to do is destroy all of us. You know, it's not good for one side. It's not good for the other side. And that's what they're doing. They're separating, you know, and I'm sorry if it didn't make any sense. I had to say it fast because anyone who's watched any of my videos, you saw me. I was a mess when I talked about this. You know, my friend, her name was Janaea. I'll never forget her. You know, and these people, these beautiful people and their families, their children, their grandchildren, they all came together. And this happens all the time, not just with me. You know, this happens all the time. All you have to do is see it. Don't allow these people to try to define who we are. They've done enough damage. They've had their way long enough. You know, those of us who know better, who are decent, we have to start testifying to the good.
That's it. But that's it right there. It's even in our YouTube right now.
So sorry that like my heart hurt for him. Like I saw his pain, that hurt.
Yep.
However, I hate saying like however because like
it's
my thing is like it's an inspirational story.
It's a sad story,
right? It's an inspirational. It's a sad story, but unfortunately, not everyone has that experience when it comes to these things. You know, there are people who've had opposite things happen. You know, where people celebrated people's passing like that because they were racist pieces of garbage. Unfortunately, that is, like I said, it is something that he's right. We should focus on a lot more of the good people out there than the negative. But the fact remains that the negative people and the actual bad people still exist. They're not gone. And they also don't help either. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword right now. You know, you have a man who had a great experience and race wasn't a factor. He saw people of different ethnicities coming together, which is beautiful. I've seen it too, and that's what it should happen 100%. But at the same time, there are still people that are bad out there and that are negative and that are racist and that are trying to hurt different cultures because we're different. You can't ignore that.
No.
I think most folks are good people. That's my thing. That's my third tenet of humanity. I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The question I want to ask both of you then, especially you, Saggy, is then, do you think we have the ability to change looking at all the negative if we put forth more of the good? And we can even do the simplest thing. If you've looked at YouTube just in general lately, a lot of our friends, a lot of the people we watch, stream with, look at our feeds every day. It's a simple thing, even when talking about a comic book or a movie or hearing what this person said or that person said or this article came out. Most of us are focusing down that road where it is just focusing on that negative, whether it be about Hasbro here, I'm not saying this is negative, or about the Star Wars this or Marvel that. We have turned into that without even realizing it, and our content is showing that. If we were able to take baby steps and even show or bring forth to the light more positive stories, more positive memories, more positive anythings, that is a stepping stone to at least maybe not change the ones that are already too far gone with their own hate and bias and whatever the fuck they're dealing with. But the ability of the ones watching that are younger, who are still impressionable, to actually start thinking for themselves and start realizing that there's more to the world than just being focused on the hate clicks. but there's positivity in clicks as well. A smile goes a lot farther than a frown, but we're not doing that ourselves.
So when it comes to the part about YouTubers,
I mean, it's content creators.
one thing I've noticed, which is something we all notice and we can all admit to, is that drama and anger is a lot more entertaining and generates more, as memes did, the money, especially if you're making money off this platform. It's always going to generate more.
I'm half Jewish. I think I'm allowed to get away with that.
That's fair. But they're going to generate towards that negative because more people are attracted to it. Same with the media, right? The media will always focus on the negative stuff. Like, perfect example, Black Lives Matter. Instead of showing all the peaceful protests, they hope and wait for those riots, and they capitalize on those riots. They want those riots to happen. I wouldn't be so far, and this might be me being a conspiracy theorist, I wouldn't put it past them that the media plants people in the protest to start shit just so they can have something to talk about on the night's news.
They did.
Right?
They've actually been caught. And that was that one thing that was happening with the riot. It was like a couple months ago. And the guy even came live on the air and was swearing, like, you are telling them one side of a story that's not even true. There's not even this many things here. Or the other picture of all the photographers all bending down to show a picture of one man holding their arm up at a supposed protest, but there was no one else there.
Right. But that's what it is. It's that when it comes down to it, negativity is more entertaining and more farmable than positivity. When you see positive videos, it's awesome. Here's the thing. What Mr. Beast, perfect example of a YouTuber who does something positive, right? Mr. Beast does what? He gives out money to a bunch of people. He makes a bunch of money. He gives out a bunch of money to people. He changes people's lives, right?
Hope.
That's a positive thing. Now, why do people follow Mr. Beast? Not because of the good he's doing, because they want him to do it for them. Because they want a piece of that pie. Because they support him in hopes that someday Mr. Beast will give them money. I see it all the time. People commenting on... What? Go ahead, Memes.
Oh, no, I was going to say, wait. It almost sounds like people might ride people's coattails.
Exactly. Because what it is people literally fall, and you see in the comments, oh, Mr. Beast, I'm a 20-year-old single mother, and I could really use some help. And it's like, that's sad and that's great, but everybody in this comment section has a story. You're not here because you want to see him be positive and help other people. You're not here for that positive. You're here in hopes that he will notice you and help you.
Well, we each have our own unique life experience. That's my second tenet of humanity. And I just need to put a disclaimer here. The Memes of Destruction YouTube channel can neither confirm nor deny anything said on this. I apologize, Stephen, I didn't have the sources available. Again, I am but a mild-mannered journalist. It's on Twitter, it must be true.
Yeah.
I had just enough room to put it. I was going to put down.
No, but it was a live CNN broadcast, and that guy.
I do remember something where they were going to some gentleman, and it kind of looked like what's this guy doing? It's like, I remember something. I just don't fully recall the details there. I do also remember when they were lining up a whole bunch of folks to kind of make it look like there were a lot more folks there than, and they kind of waited and round of it left, like, we'll take your picture. You'll be on the news. I don't know. I totally stand around for that. Again, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but that's how I feel. Like, when it comes to negativity, and it's sad because that's the reality. Like, reality TV shows have shown us that we really are about drama and negativity. When you watch these reality TV shows, you look forward to seeing people fighting and nitpicking and getting to it. That's just what it is. It's sad that that's what society's come to, but that is what it is.
All I know is I think this came into being right around the time when I heard Jersey Shore was renewed for a second season. I'm just saying, hey, they've put a lot of shows on. Even Fox has made fun of it with the list of shows they've canceled and everything. But when Jersey Shore, and they had that first season, there's all this drama and everything. Once it got re-signed, I'm like, uh-oh. I just felt like something different was happening. And then you multiply that by the increased velocity of information of social media. I think a lot of this explains itself. I'm just like, and again, I don't want to hate on the player. Let's say it on the game. How do we make the game better? I would propose, and again, I apologize for my lack of doing this well, is, I don't know, rather than do a flame video or something like that to try to start drama and get a whole bunch of clicks, it's like, what if I actually said, I'm going to have a discussion about this. I would love to have your opinion on this. I'm going to let you know that this is occurring, rather than going out of the blue. Oh my God, we're dropping this info, the information, the truth exposed in all capital letters in the title. I think that tends to be a marker for things. Could be just me.
I'm waiting for Fat Steven to say something.
I think I've said too much, and I don't want anyone to feel like I'm disconcerting what they're saying, because I've dealt with a lot of drama over the last few months, especially with my channel and certain individuals or parties trying to do this or that, and I've learned the same thing when it comes to Disney, Marvel, and mainstream entertainment, if we're going to call it entertainment anymore. I have pulled myself away from expectations of any property. I have pulled myself away from caring about dramas anymore. Chris Gore said it great. Go about every day with no fucks given. Because as soon as you learn that lesson and move on, it's a hard lesson to do because eventually something will hit you again that you weren't prepared for. The less those outside forces will change you.
See, drama for me has been interesting because I've just gotten so used to it and I just relish in it because I know how to handle it. You know, I don't let it bother me anymore because, you know, like when it comes to my friends, you know, when it comes to like negativity and drama within like my friends, these are people I genuinely care about. So yeah, that is the only exception. When I care about people and there's drama, that's where I'm just like, ugh, you know.
It's when
But
people try to make drama for you. That's the difference. When your friends are being targeted, you have to care. You don't. It sucks because you can't do more. But it's definitely a fine line.
well, I always look at why people are targeted. It's usually I look at like, okay, what did you do wrong? Okay, nothing. Okay, I got you. But if they did something that I'm even like, like most of the time I don't care what my friends do as long as you're not hurting people. I don't really give a shit. But yeah, aside from that, when it comes to friends and dramas, I try to unless unless it's something I have to get involved in, I try to just let everybody's adults. Everyone should just handle themselves as adults, or I'm gonna start clapping people.
They're really not. That's the sad part. Some of them live a life that they're still in high school, and they live in that same little world where they haven't grown up.
I would do the abs thingy, snappy thing, but I never learned how to snap. But yeah, I would actually propose it. It almost seems a little bit more like middle school in some ways. I don't know. Is high school worse?
It does.
Is it better? Like it depends on the individual.
Yeah, and it's just.
You sound so sad, Fat Steven. Stop it. I don't like this. I don't like sad Fat Steven. I'm gonna cry.
I'm not sad.
If you want to support Fat Steven's cheesecake addiction, I think he has a link somewhere. I haven't added it yet.
You
Maybe.
No, I'm not sad. I'm actually quite content as of what's been going in the last few months, because they can't change me. They can try to manipulate what they want people to perceive of me, but they just make themselves look more like monsters. I am just very calm, and I think that's what's throwing people off. It's like I'm talking from a logical perspective without being logically emotional, and I'm fantastic.
How dare you not emotionally respond in a violent outburst as planned?
Baggy's very intelligent and very underrated. She's also has a very good head on her shoulders. She's been through her own shit and is constantly going through her own shit. But she knows when to draw the laugh and where to draw the line. And that's what more people can actually learn from her. Memes, you're very down to the point. You try to not manipulate, but compare and share what you're interested in and apply it to other people so they can understand to a base level, and then try to bring them in to learn more without making them feel like they're being pushed down with a lot of weight. Both of you have an aspect of humanity that is both could be learned by a lot, but should also be respected by many.
I freaking love you.
I
knew I loved
channels. Even if I don't talk, I'm always watching.
Oh, I know you are.
I know a lot of the people's BS. I know a lot of the people's plan. I know a lot of things. I just don't voice them because we don't need those hate clicks. We've seen what's happened with earlier this year with people blowing out the gasket. It doesn't help anyone. The only people it helps is those people that you outed, the ones trying to fuel fires, trying to live off that drama. Those people that need YouTube to be a freaking reality show because they are unhappy with their own life, so they have to look at someone else's unhappiness to feel somewhat solidified for a few moments. I'm not living that life.
I think part of that is also there might be some correlation between channel activity and revenue growth and things like that may also factor in. I'm just saying, when it be, I kind of view it a little bit like, again, part of hashtag gamer theory is that, all right, if it's like a game, all I know is back in World of Warcraft, there'd be hardcore players, there'd be casual players. And the thing is, some points, doesn't matter. Once you get to those higher level rating guilds and stuff like that, that does kind of matter. Stuff, especially if you're trying to be highly competitive. Get like, I don't know, top dozen, top 20 server first, freaking whatever, Knights of the Round Team. No, that's Final Fantasy VII. The Four Horsemen, as well as Kel'Thuzad.
Yeah,
no, it's fun.
Yeah, no, Steven's right, though. It does come to a point. I've noticed it. Like, I've been noticed it. I've talked about it. There are so many. I've said this many times on streams where it's like a lot of these, especially the bigger YouTubers, they don't give a shit about us. We're nothing. We're literally just numbers to them.
No, I'm gonna have to push back. No, there are people that care. It's hard to care on a certain scale, and this is why I'm very bad with the chat, because I realize if I ever did get big, I would still be bad with the chat, because at that point it becomes completely unmanageable for a single individual.
No, that's
so I try to be consistent.
I think you're misinterpreting. I think you're talking about, at the end of the day, people can say they care all they want, but it applies back to action. And the actions that once were are no longer being done. And you can see that people who had hope in certain actions are gone, and they're going somewhere else because they feel like they've been let down. They'll never admit it. Some will. But I agree. Every big channel eventually reaches the point where they need more help. They can't acknowledge everything. They do the best they can. They apologize as many times as they can. But where things were a great idea and have the ability to grow everyone's hope, it was diminished probably by an involvement of an outside party or a changing of the guard. And everything evolves, but it doesn't mean everything evolves for the better.
I think somebody in the chat said it best last night, and this is a terrible thing to say, but I forget who it was. I apologize for the lack of attribution, or maybe you're welcome. But I stopped visiting a channel when the only chats they read are super chats.
That's
when they don't even go down to.
That was me. That was months ago. That was you and me talking when I first asked about mimetic theory. Yes, that was me. We had the whole, and you were
no. This was last night. I think you went. Oh, wait, you're not the only one that thought that way.
No,
how dare you, sir?
No, I don't like that either. I don't think anyone. First of all, super chats. Let's be real. Super chats are made for really.
Jay and Mark also interact with the normal chat as well. To be fair, because this was partly about them.
Well, no, I was gonna say, to be fair, super chats' main purpose, in my opinion, is for very big YouTube channels that have up to thousands of people watching them. So that way, because it's physically and very difficult for content creators to keep up with a chat when there's 1,000 people in it, let alone more than that. Even a couple hundred sometimes can be a little overwhelming. So yeah, super chats made it a little bit easy, but to most people, it's considered being a paywall. Now, I'm sorry, if you're a YouTuber and your channel doesn't have that volume of chatters in your chat, you have no business not paying attention to that chat. You have no business only reading super chats. That is a paywall, and you're literally basically saying that I will not acknowledge your existence unless you pay me to do so. That is not okay, and that's not what you should be doing as a small content creator. Just my thoughts.
Is that what a lobbyist is?
Yes.
You pay money for access or something?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. Is that the way it's going? Is this the modern lobbying of our influencers and stuff? Are we going to have to register with the FCC? Actually, maybe.
Listen, if I show up to your YouTube channel and your chat isn't moving fast and you only have like 60 people watching, and the only time you'll acknowledge me is if I pay you to acknowledge me, Like, F you, I'm not going to watch you anymore. Bye. What's
She
the
doesn't watch me
point?
because I play Fortnite. We already established that.
That's not true because I streamed Fortnite on Twitch last night.
Oh, you didn't invite me? What a bastard.
And I bought skins.
Oh, the addiction begins.
And I got a win. Yeah, it's easy. I think that's what it is. Apex has been fun, but it's been kind of challenging because all the thirst buckets. So Fortnite's been pretty easy. I've been soloing and doing pretty well. I just can't. The last final, like, freaking 3 people, I always end up getting my butt handed to me because I'm not fighting bots anymore.
Well, it's usually better to do things in a group. All I know is, at least it sounds like what you normally play was like an arena in WoW, and what you're describing now with Fortnite, you can kind of like go into Alteric Valley by yourself and still complete quests.
Either way, I played Fortnite and I bought skins and I Twitch.
Can you hear the hate?
Oh.
She wants to say "fucking fat Steven." That's really what she wants to do. You can hear
I do want to say it.
You infected her with a Fortnite meme.
I've infected a lot of people, but look at how much fun a lot of people that we see.
I don't have enough room on my hard drive. I apologize.
Don't apologize anymore. God damn, you sound Canadian.
Make room.
It's downloaded, but the updates, I need to update other things. I need to delete porn and a whole bunch of videos.
Don't worry about that.
I know. I'm very late. So, but I actually got to wrap it up. I got to give the old man a call back. So,
okay, memes. When are we getting bubble tea?
At some point in the future, I need to install a printer on Saturday.
When are we cuddling?
Yeah, when are we
I
cuddling?
don't know. When we cuddling, I was considering going to Vegas. I don't know. We'll see if maybe we could scrounge up some money. It could be fun. We'll see. What happens.
I might go to Vegas. I want to see. Fat Steven, are you going to Vegas?
I can't afford it. And I'm taking care of my dad.
Oh.
You have to remember, I was one of the guys that got laid off by email during the lockdowns.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Thomas. Yeah, we're getting ready to pop out.
Yeah. Well, it's like that's the thing, though. There's a difference between sharing negative stories and because it's a part of your life, and people thinking that you're sharing negative stories for sympathy. I don't want that road.
No, I feel you. Well,
So
thank you for this.
all I know is, hey, you two are free to talk however you wish, but hey, peace out, everybody. Thank you all for watching, and no matter what happens, remember.
How do you know if any of this stuff is true? How do you know someone didn't just make it up?
What? You mean just lie? You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
I just mean that some of the details...
Whoa, I never thought of that. This is terrible. What if none of it's true? What if they're all lying? How would we ever know?
Have you guys checked out the Memes of Destruction's channel? He's an interesting dude. I like him.